Hi friends, and welcome to the final episode of my Knitting 101 series. In this episode, we're going to go over one of the basic ways to increase your stitches, the yarn over, which in a previous video, I showed you how to get rid of unwanted yarn overs. This time we'll be doing an intentional one. And we will go over a basic way to decrease stitches by knitting 2 stitches together. And our project this week is going to be another dishcloth. So a quick note about this is actually the pattern I do use when I make dishcloths, although I do typically use 100% cotton yarn. This is also a really nice pattern because the way it works is you just cast on a very few number of stitches and then you increase along the, sorry, my cat's going nuts over there, I don't know if you hear that, but you cast on just a few number of stitches and then you increase up to the size that you want it to be on the diagonal, and then you decrease down to a few number of stitches. This is really nice because this is kind of a great thing to do. You don't have to think about it a whole lot. It's mostly just garter stitch. You just have some stuff to do at the beginning of the row. But if you, instead of starting the decreases, just keep increasing, this is like a really nice way to make a shawl. So all we're going to be doing is for every single row, we're going to be knitting 2, doing a yarn over, and then knitting the whole rest of the row. Turn around, do the exact same thing. And then when we get to the decrease portion of it, we're going to be knit 1, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 2 together, and then the whole thing across the row. Hopefully that'll make a little bit more sense when we jump into the tutorial. And I'm going to do the tutorial just a little bit differently this time because doing a yarn over is so simple and knitting 2 together is also so simple. I'm actually just going to do it in the context of actually showing you how to make the dishcloth. All right, let's go ahead and jump on in. To start, I'm going to cast on 4 stitches. All right, and then I am going to just knit straight this first row. So I'm going to slip that first stitch. And as I showed you a couple weeks ago, I'm going to take this yarn. I'm actually going to just move it between the needles so I get kind of that nicer edge. However, when I'm doing this Norwegian style, there's a little bit of a more seamless way of doing that. It's doing the exact same thing, but I think it's a little bit easier with how you're holding the yarn. So I kind of naturally just put the yarn there. So instead of like slipping it and then having to move it and everything, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to slide my needle under that yarn, kind of like if I was doing a purl stitch, but then I go in through the back of the stitch and I pull it under the yarn. So it does the exact same thing if I were to slip it and then move the yarn there. It just, I think, works a little bit more fluidly. And then I'm going to knit that next stitch. Now this is where I'm actually going to do my increase, and I'm going to do that yarn over. To do a yarn over, it's really easy. I'm going to take the yarn on my finger, I'm going to move it between the needles and just wrap it around that needle. And then I'm going to knit my next 2 stitches. And now I have 5 stitches on my needle. And every single row, I'm going to knit the first 2, do a yarn over, and then knit the whole rest of the row. So every row is exactly the same up until we get to the point where we start doing the decreases. Again, just wrap it around between the needles and knit across. All right, now I have 42 stitches on my needle, and that's going to go ahead and be the diagonal length here. So I'm going to go ahead and start decreasing now. So we're going to be doing a knit 2 together. Just to start with, I'm just going to slip this first one just like I've been doing the whole way. And then all I'm doing to do a knit 2 is I'm going to pick up both of these stitches, just like I was knitting them. So I'm putting it in exactly as if I were knitting this one, and then also picking up this one. And then I'm going to pull the yarn through and slide both of those stitches off. Now I want to continue my nice little decorative border here, so I need to continue doing a yarn over, but if I knit 2 together, I'm decreasing down to 41 stitches, but then if I just do a yarn over, I'm increasing back up to 42, and I'm just going to be knitting something even. So I actually am instead, I'm going to do a knit, or I'm going to do a yarn over, and then I'm also going to knit the next 2 together as well. So then I'm doing 2 decreases and a yarn over. And then just like I have been doing the whole time, I'm going to knit all the way across this row. All right, and then just to show that one more time, I already slipped my first stitch, and then I am going to knit these 2 together, and then I'm going to yarn over, and I am going to then knit these 2 together as well, and then knit across until I get down to 4 stitches. All right, and once you are down to 4 stitches, you are just going to knit 1 row straight without any increases or decreases, and then you are going to do your standard bind off. And then you will cut that off, weave in the ends, and you have your finished dishcloth. Hi guys! That is it for my Knitting 101 series. I really hope that you have found this to be a helpful introduction to the basics of knitting. This is not the end of my videos though. I am going to be starting next week with a series on making hats. And it's going to pick up exactly where I've left off here. So the only skills you need going into it are the ones that I went over in the Knitting 101 series. I hope to see you there. As always, thank you so much for watching. And don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. And definitely also feel free to leave a comment, particularly if you have any questions. I am going to be doing a short video covering a couple questions that I did get throughout the Knitting 101 series. So if you have any, definitely make sure to leave them in there, and I'll try to include them in that video depending on timing of when they get left versus when I make the video. But I'll definitely try to help you out if you have any questions. Thank you again so much for watching, and I hope to see you next week when we start working on some hats.